So you may remember about 6 months ago I made a video where I read the Silverized graphic novel for the first time, and I looked through it to find details that some of you may have missed. I actually found quite a few very interesting details, one of which was so interesting that I actually thought it was a good idea to post it on Reddit. But with the fourth Closet graphic novel coming out likely tomorrow or today, depending on when I post this, I thought now would be a good time to do what I did with the Silverized graphic novel with the Twisted Ones graphic novel, since I already planned on doing this for the Twisted Ones and fourth Closet graphic novels. And if I do Twisted Ones now, then I could actually be on time with the fourth Closet and do it right around the time it comes out. So I asked my parents for it for Christmas, because why the hell not, and now I have it. So I read it and found 23 new details. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Number 1. On page 8, when Artie and Charlie are talking in the hall, Charlie brings up John. Artie asks if John is from her hometown, and Charlie says, yeah, he is from Hurricane. Artie responds by saying, Hurricane? Yeah, I always meant to ask you. It's like an urban legend around here, the murders, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Charlie stops him there because obviously that rips open painful memories about losing her friend 11 years ago and what happened the year before, but this is really interesting to me. This shows that even though so many people were affected by the murders, not everyone even believes they really happened. People see it as an urban legend. This could explain how Fazbear Entertainment was able to get away with calling the murders a lie and making fun of them around the 2030s when FNAF VR takes place.
We know that Fazbear Entertainment has developed something of a bad reputation over the last few decades, and while it's true that some stories associated with our name were loosely based on actual events, the majority of them were total fabrications from the mind of a complete lunatic. Lawsuits pending.
Number 2. I find it interesting that Charlie's friend who died in the missing children's incident is named Michael, and then after moving away from her aunt, she makes a new friend in college named Artie, who wears a purple jacket. This seems like a reference to Mike. Not only the purple jacket, but Artie also has a similar hair color to the older brother in FNAF 4, a reddish-brown color. This to me feels like an indication that after losing so many people, Sammy, Henry, and Michael, Charlie feels like she has missing pieces of herself, and so she tries to refill them, trying to replace her old friend Michael, who died with a new friend who looks similar to Michael in the games. All this could just be me spitballing, but it seems interesting to me. Number 3. The novel trilogy is a role switch universe. Michael takes the role of Cassidy, Cassidy takes the role of Jeremy, the bite victim takes the role of Gabriel, and most importantly, Charlie takes the role of Michael. Charlie is basically our Michael for this universe, the child of one of the creators of Freddy and the gang who lost a sibling when they were younger. So I find that it's not a coincidence that Charlie wears a purple shirt and blue pants, exactly like Mike in Sis location. The only difference here is that Charlie also wears a jacket. Number 4. On page 17, when John and Charlie are out together, we see in one panel that Charlie's burger is on a plate, but it's missing its bottom half of the bun. In the next panel though, more toppings suddenly appear on the burger out of nowhere. The bottom bun is back, but it's not on a plate. This seems like a slight error, but it's still disgusting. Charlie, do you realize how much bacteria is on that table? Number 5. On the next page, 18, we see a woman in the background on the left. We also see a completely blue man who looks like a hologram, but on the next page, page 19, the woman on the left is wearing a completely different outfit. Her table is also completely different all of a sudden, and she's missing her pink bag. Also, the blue hologram looking dude is nowhere to be seen. I know it's probably just a few errors, but is it weird to anyone else that the dude who looks like a hologram vanished from the next page? It's kinda weird. Number 6. Charlie explains to John that she recently started feeling like Sammy, her quote-unquote dead twin brother, was getting closer to her, making her feel more whole, but on her birthday he disappeared from her mind. And there may actually be a reason for this. As most of us know, Charlie is a series of 4 robots. One as a baby, one as a child, one as a teenager, and one as a adult. But the final one didn't work properly and became Circus Baby. Since Charlie was 17 in the Silver Eyes, which was 1 year before this book, Charlie is now 18, and so Sammy went away on her 18th birthday. Charlie was supposed to switch over to her 4th robot when she turned 18, but since there wasn't one to turn into, it's possible her programming glitched in a way, causing the loss of Sammy in her mind. There's certainly a few holes in this, but it's the best explanation I have and it kinda makes sense. Number 7. When Charlie and John are at the movies, they are watching a zombie movie, and I noticed a guy in a purple jacket sitting in the background of the audience, which just makes me think of Mike Afton. I mean, I doubt that's relevant at all, but it's just something I noticed. And since Charlie is also the Mike stand-in for this trilogy, it makes sense that she goes to see a zombie movie. Also, I couldn't help but notice that the person being attacked by the zombies was a girl in a golden dress, which really reminded me of Princess Quest. And that also ties in really well with another detail in this book that I found, so let's just skip ahead to that right now. Number 8. In this book, William Afton possesses and controls animatronics to attack people while he is trapped under rubble in an old Freddy Fazbear's location. Does that sound familiar? If you watched my most recent theory video from yesterday, it should sound familiar. In Security Breach, it's revealed that the FNAF 6 building has been underneath the Pizzaplex the whole time, a Freddy's location underneath a mall, just like in the Silver Eyes trilogy. It's also revealed that William Afton had been trapped down here the whole time. My theory was that Fazbear Entertainment came down and scanned the circuit boards, downloaded them into the game, which created Glitch Trap, and when he possessed Vanny, he made her infect the FNAF AR animatronics with the Glitch Trap virus. Basically, William is trapped in a Freddy's location under a mall and is controlling animatronics and making them attack people. In both continuities. The similarities between the two are very interesting to me. Whether it means anything is kind of unknown, but I just thought it was very much worth mentioning. Is really interesting to me. Number 9. On page 48, it's mentioned that Freddy and the gang are supposed to be bolted down on the stage. This makes sense in the games because after the Bite of 87, the animatronics weren't allowed to walk around anymore. But in the trilogy, there was no Bite of 87, since Freddy's was closed for good in 1985. So why were they bolted down here? This also shows the strength of the animatronics being able to break the bolts to manage to walk around at night. But the even weirder thing is that Phone Guy in FNAF 1 acknowledges that the animatronics move around at night. He knows they break their bolts, but he doesn't do anything about it. Why is that? Number 10. On page 53, Charlie and Jessica find William Afton's body. Jessica points out that he's been fused with the suit, and that his body hasn't even rotted even though it's been a year. This is because, since Afton is still alive, his body doesn't rot, which confirms for us that William in the games inside Springtrap is dead, because his body does rot. Number 11. I always wondered something. Why was the Springtrap suit so broken down by the time of FNAF 3? Well, in this book we might have gotten our answer. In this book, the reason he's so broken is because the building had started to be demolished and some of the debris had fallen on him. This makes me wonder if something like this happened in the games. A lot of us theorize that Henry sealed the safe room after finding William's body in the safe room. But what if after that, the FNAF 1 Freddy's building with Springtrap still inside had started to be demolished? Maybe something similar to what happened in the books with the huge storms and such also happened in the games, possibly distracting from the demolition of the building and leaving it, with Springtrap now broken from the debris of the building, trapped in the safe room. Not quite sure if this is the case, but it's an interesting thought I had, and it would clearly explain why the Springtrap is so broken. Number 12. On page 54, we see Charlie's notebook where she has been doodling boxes and stuff, but we see at the bottom of her page that she has also been drawing what looks like tally marks. This further solidifies the connection between Charlie and Michael, since Michael also draws tally marks in the survival logbook. Number 13. A lot of people have made the connection between the dirt pile and Midnight Motorist and the Twisted animatronics, and while that is definitely not what the Midnight Motorist dirt pile actually is, I find it interesting that the house Charlie goes to on page 63, belonging to the third victim, is in a clearing surrounded by trees with the Twisted animatronics graves right in the backyard, just like the Midnight Motorist house. Not the graves part, but in a clearing surrounded by trees and graves at least nearby. Number 14. In the background of that house are 3 graves for the Twisted animatronics. 3, not 4. At first I thought the reason for this is because Twisted Foxy's still at Henry's house, and so he hasn't been active yet. But back at Henry's house, there's still only 3 graves in the hidden room with Twisted Foxy. So where's the 4th grave? I feel like it could be a correlation between the Twisted ones and the Charlie bots. One of the bots is missing because it's Circus Baby. But with the Twisted animatronics, it's really weird. I have another explanation for it later on. There's also a possibility that maybe there were only 3 to begin with and Afton built a 4th. I don't know, but I also have another explanation that falls under another detail that we'll talk about later on in the video. Number 15. On page 71 we see Ella as well as a picture of Charlie when she was, quote, no bigger than her. I think the reason why is pretty clear, because at that time Charlie literally was Ella. She's even wearing the same outfit in the picture. But the weird thing is that Charlie says she doesn't remember that picture. This confuses me. Didn't the memories from each Charlie carry over? My best guess is that since this version of Charlie was when she was super young, in her first robot form, Henry didn't install that memory function because babies don't retain many, if any, memories until the age of 2 or 3. On page 88, we see that this is the absolute weirdest way to hold a pen in history. That's it. Number 17. All of the Twisted animatronics are Springlock suits, including Twisted Wolf. A lot of people think Golden Freddy can't be a Springlock suit because he only has 4 fingers, but that's actually wrong, because even though Twisted Wolf is a Springlock suit, he has 4 fingers. Number 18. On page 135, Charlie is inside Twisted Freddy and she starts freaking out and hyperventilating and stuff. She realizes that she needs to calm down. This isn't because she might trigger the Springlocks with her movement, but rather her breath. As we learn in the FNAF 3 tapes, you're not supposed to breathe on the Springlocks because that releases moisture, which will loosen them and cause them to break loose.
Do not breathe on the Springlocks, as moisture may loosen them and cause them to break loose.
Number 19. I feel like there's no way I'm the only one who finds a connection between Charlie stuck in Freddy and him moving around, with Gregory inside Glamrock Freddy. The connection also makes sense if you take into account the glitch trap connection we talked about earlier. It may also tie into the fact that there were only 3 graves for the Twisted animatronics earlier, because in Security Breach, Freddy is the only one of the 4 that isn't evil, separating him from the other Glamrocks. And now, with Twisted Freddy, even though he's obviously evil unlike Glamrock Freddy, he does something similar for Charlie to what Freddy does for Gregory. Number 20. The location Charlie ends up in after getting out of Twisted Freddy is clearly the FNAF 2 location, as we can tell by the dining room being bigger, the carousel, and Balloon Boy being right next to the carousel. But Charlie thinks about the fact that this place never saw the light of day. The games have never been played. The reason behind that is because in this universe, Henry killed himself after the missing children's incident, meaning after the first location closed, no one was there to open up the location for the FNAF 2 restaurant. That's why it closed for good in 1985. Except... Number 21. While the location she ends up in is the FNAF 2 location, it also technically isn't. Since the illusion chips are in the lights, when Clay shoots them, the whole illusion breaks down. It still is designed like a restaurant, but it turns out that all the animatronics in there, except for like 3 of what looked like hundreds of Balloon Boys, were all just illusions, all because of the illusion chips in the lights. So that begs the question, did anything like this happen in the FNAF 2 location? I honestly highly doubt it, but there is a light in the FNAF 2 office, so what if... No way. Number 22. I can't be the only one who thinks illusion chips look like DS games. That's it. Number 23. On the last page, when we see Charlie, she's wearing a red dress and black boots. Not only does this remind me of Harley Quinn in the Suicide Squad, it also makes me think of Circus Baby with the red dress and stuff, because Baby wears a red skirt. And as we know, this Charlie is the 4th Charlie bot, and that 4th Charlie bot is Circus Baby. And that's everything I wanted to talk about for this video. The 4th Closet graphic novel comes out tomorrow, and I pre-ordered it, so I'm going to be doing the same thing as in this video for that book, so stay tuned for that. I'm also planning a Security Breach challenge video soon, so stay tuned for that as well. And of course, I'm still going to be doing some more Security Breach theories, so stay tuned for those as well. If any of that interests you, or if you enjoyed this video, then leave a like and subscribe, and turn on my notifications so you don't miss it when I upload. But that's all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Apple7 out, and peace. See you guys.